Hello and welcome to Boston Ramesh channel. I have just wrapped up Module 1 in the ServiceNow Application Development Fundamentals course. Today, in episode 2 of my series Learn with Boston Ramesh, I'm going to review everything I have learned so far. Diving into ServiceNow has shown me it is more than just a tool. It's a platform where we can create custom apps to tackle various organizational challenges or business requirements. In this episode, I will focus on the fundamentals of app creation in ServiceNow, which is a custom application development, and how cloud computing enhances flexibility and scalability, and why creating custom apps is sometimes the only way to meet specific business requirements. So let's dive into the insights from Module 1. Whether you are here to learn with me or just curious about ServiceNow's capabilities, I'm excited to share my learnings. So let's get started. Let's start off with the application development foundational concepts. When we talk about building applications, it's not just about throwing code together. It's a journey that starts with understanding what you want to achieve, picking the right tools for the job, like in this case, ServiceNow, coding programming language, JavaScript, and then following a path from a mere idea to a fully functioning application. This path or life cycle includes planning, building, testing, and improving our app based on the feedback. And this happens in any software application development. So let's touch upon this cloud-based applications concept. This is not anymore a technical buzzword. It's a revolution that most of us have seen in the last decade or so. It's has changed how we develop and use software. And cloud platforms like ServiceNow gives us the power to create applications that are not just scalable, but also flexible. That means easy to tweak as our organization requirements change over the period of time. It's like having a workshop that expands and adapts to fit any project, no matter how big or complex it gets. So, what is a ServiceNow's role here in the cloud computing or in this space? ServiceNow does something pretty special. It combines the best parts of SaaS, software as a service, where we can use software directly over the internet without installing anything, and with PaaS, platform as a service, giving us all the tools and space we need to build our own applications. This means organizations, small or big, can streamline how they work by customizing ServiceNow's base platform to fit exactly what they need, whether that is managing IT services, handling customer requests, or onboarding new employees. So we might be wondering, with all these tools and pre-built solutions that ServiceNow offers, so why bother building custom applications? Why do we learn to develop custom applications? It's all about what we need in an organization. Maybe the out-of-the-box solution doesn't fit to the business requirements. Just like imagine you are trying on clothes. Sure, off the rack might work most of the time, but sometimes you need something tailored just for you. And custom applications in ServiceNow are just like that. They let you solve specific problems unique to your organization, going beyond the general solutions to create something that just works right for your situation. So that means despite the wide range of cloud-based solutions, custom applications are essential for addressing unique business challenges, enhancing ServiceNow's native capabilities to meet specific organizational needs. All right, so let's look at the definition of a custom application. So what is a custom application? Custom applications are all about taking ServiceNow, a platform already packed with features, and pushing it further to solve specific problems unique to each business. So it's like having a set of Lego blocks. Sure, following the instructions gives you something great, but sometimes you wanted to build something just for you. That's where custom application comes in. So let's see a few benefits of a custom application. Number one, address unique needs. Custom apps meet specific business requirements not covered by standard solutions. Number two, seamless integrations. Enable connections with external systems or internal systems for broader automation. Number three, improve user experience. So out of the box solution probably cannot fit into a particular organization's needs. The organization probably need a little bit different type of a user interface. So we need to modify it. And then competitive edge. Innovate and differentiate from competitors with unique functionalities. So let's see some examples of custom applications. Number one, IT service management, ITSM. So imagine an IT department swamped with service requests, incidents, and the need to manage changes smoothly. A custom ITSM app can tailor the process exactly to how an organization works, making everything run smoother and faster. Number two, customer service management. Every organization wants to keep its customers happy. A custom CSM application can help by making sure every customer support interaction is quick, effective, and leaves the customer satisfied. Number three, human resources services delivery. HR processes can be complex, but they don't have to feel that way. Custom HRSD apps can simplify everything from onboarding to employee support, all while creating a better experience for employees. Number four, security operations. In a world full of digital threats, a custom SecOps app can help an organization stay one step ahead, quickly responding to incidents and strengthening its security posture. So these are the just a few examples that we can think of. But for all of these examples, developing them as custom applications on ServiceNow means they can be perfectly aligned with the organization's needs. It's not just making do with what is available. It's about creating solutions that fit like a glove, improving efficiency, and ultimately delivering better outcomes. So let's see what is the scoped application model. In the ServiceNow application development context, understanding the scope versus global is very critical for the ServiceNow application developer because that is the whole point in how you develop a custom application using the common available global applications or resources in the ServiceNow that offers as a base platform. ServiceNow cleverly divides its application development environment into two main categories. So one is scope and one is global. Scope is also can be understood as your private application or private scope. Think of scoped applications as your private workspace within ServiceNow. It's like having your own sandbox where everything you build is contained, ensuring that your work remains independent and does not accidentally interfere with other applications. This encapsulation and isolation are crucial for maintaining a clean and orderly development environment, especially when customizing applications to fit specific business needs. On the flip side, global applications are the communal areas of ServiceNow. They offer wide-reaching capabilities across the entire ServiceNow platform. While this broad access can be incredibly powerful, allowing for extensive integrations and modifications. It also carries the responsibility of ensuring these global changes do not disrupt the overall system integrity. So, when we see this in real time, if you try to edit an existing application in a different scope, then system will give you a warning saying that you are trying to edit an application that is not in the scope that you are right now, because you will see that in the application picker. So that is how it is trying to protect that changing an artifact in a different scope is not permitted. So while I'm going through this training and trying to understand how do we manage these applications within the service now, I realized the importance of understanding the distinction between scope and global scopes. Properly managing these applications is key to ensuring not only the security and efficiency of our solutions, but also to protecting the data and processes they encompass. Whether you are building within your private scope or making changes that affect the global landscape of ServiceNow, being mindful of these boundaries is essential for both the developer and the organization. So now let's take a deep dive into understanding what is a scoped application. So let's see some analogies here so too easy to understand. Imagine scoped applications as individual applications on your Windows operating system. Just as each application on your computer operates within its own environment, having its unique settings, data, and permissions, scoped applications function exactly in the same way in ServiceNow. These are all self-contained units, and they are designed to run independently within their dedicated data and logic. And this independence is equal to how a program like Microsoft Word runs separately from Adobe Photoshop, each with its specific purpose and resources. So the key point that we need to understand here is the isolation. That means the isolation of the scoped apps from the rest of the ServiceNow environment is just like the way that applications on the Windows are sandboxed from each other. This separation or this isolation ensures that operations within one scoped app don't inadvertently affect another. So this will maintain the system integrity and security. So think of it as how installing or updating a game on your PC doesn't disrupt the functionality of your Excel sheet software. And scoped apps are built with upgrade compatibility in mind, similar to how Windows applications receive updates without affecting other programs on your system. So this feature ensures that customizations within your scoped app remain intact and functional even as the ServiceNow platform evolves. As you know, ServiceNow releases major releases 2 times in a year. So if you have a scoped application and you wanted to make sure that your scoped application works without any failures, even when there is a new release comes for every 6 months. So moreover, the targeted communication and monitoring within scoped applications can be likened to how specific applications on Windows might manage their notifications and updates independently of other applications. This targeted approach within scoped apps ensures efficiency and specificity in operations, much like how certain updates or alerts are specific to an application on your Windows operating system, not affecting or appearing in others. So let's see what we have on the slide here is a comparison between scoped applications versus global applications. The first one is upgrade safety. Scoped applications ensure smoother upgrades by isolating customizations. But for the global applications might face compatibility issues during upgrades due to broader system impact. However, if you have taken enough safe precautions while building or upgrading or updating any global applications, then ServiceNow's regular releases won't impact the functionality. But scoped applications, they have this space that they operate, and we can control how we wanted to upgrade it. Even though the scoped applications have dependencies on the baseline application, we can still manage the upgrades impact. That means this ease of maintenance, easier to manage due to encapsulation and isolation. And then we have high data security because we provide restrictions to read data or update data in a scoped application because we put ACLs and permissions. Who can read, who can see, who can write in the scoped application. And then customization is ideal for specific departmental solutions without affecting other areas. If there is something change, some some other business needs change tomorrow, then you can change the scoped application and not impacting any other applications. And the best use case is best for applications that need to operate independently within the ServiceNow platform. So now we need to understand how the ServiceNow platform recognizes what is a scoped app and what is a global app. That means the scoped app will be having a specific identifier. And in this case, it is called namespace identifier. Let's look at an example and understand how ServiceNow creates that namespace identifier for a specific scoped app. So these namespace identifiers are essentially a unique naming convention to identify and organize scoped applications in the ServiceNow. So why we need to have the namespace identifier? These namespace identifiers ensure that each application has a distinct identity so that we can prevent conflicts that might arise from naming duplications and facilitating a modular approach to application development. So let's look at an example and understand what is there in that namespace identifier and how we need to understand. You see that x underscore widget dot employee underscore portal. That is a namespace identifier for an example. So in this identifier, x underscore is a prefix used by ServiceNow to denote that the application is scoped. As soon as you see x underscore for a scoped app, for an app, that is a scoped app. This is a standard prefix indicating that the application operates within its encapsulated environment, isolated from the global namespace. Following the prefix, you see widget. That's the name of it represents the vendor or the creator of the application. So this part of the identifier is critical for distinguishing applications developed by different entities within the ServiceNow platform, ensuring clarity and preventing overlaps. Now in this namespace identifier, you see at the end, employee underscore portal. And this one specifies the unique name of the application itself. So that means in this namespace, employee underscore portal is a scoped application name for a company, a customer called widget. So that's how we need to understand. And it actually explains what is the employee portal. It has a specific purpose and a functionality. That's how we need to create a scoped application to exactly let the developers or anybody who is looking at it know What is the purpose of it? The moment you see the employee underscore portal, we know this scope application is designed to support something specific to employees, not for the customers. So what is that so important for us to have these namespace identifiers correctly created? So for developers, this process simplifies the application development, management, and integration by providing a clear and organized structure for application identification. So this structured approach helps in modular development, allowing us for easier updates, maintenance, and scalability of applications. So it also streamlines the integration process with other applications and services within the ServiceNow ecosystem because we know specifically what is this application is and then where it lives. Because each application can be precisely identified and referenced without ambiguity. Now let's see how do we make a decision. What is the criteria to make an application as a scoped application? How do we choose a right scope for an application? So the decision-making process for an application scope involves a careful evaluation of several factors. First, consider the intended use or intended user base of your application. Who will use this application and how wide-reaching are its intended functions? Secondly, assess the data isolation needs. Does your application handle sensitive information that requires strict access controls? And finally, examine the integration requirements. Will your application need to communicate with other applications or external systems? And how will this affect its functionality? So let's try to see some examples here. Scope, that means a private scope versus a global scope examples. So for applications with a narrow focus, such as department-specific tools that provide or serve to unique processes or workflows, a private or scoped application is more appropriate. This scope ensures that the application functions within a contained environment, minimizing the risk of data leakage, and it will make sure the targeted functionality without impacting the broader ServiceNow instance. And on the other hand, global scope applications are beneficial for solutions that require cross-departmental access or need to leverage ServiceNow's extensive platform capabilities across multiple functions. Let's say, for example, you are building a functionality at an organization level that can be used by several other departments. So in that case, you cannot make that as a private scope application because all scope applications require the output of that functionality, which you have to put in the global scope. So for example, include enterprise-wide reporting tools or applications that integrate various departments' workflows into a collective platform. The global scope allows these applications to operate more freely across the ServiceNow environment, and they offer broader access and integration possibilities. So let's see what is the impact on the development in the decision that we make a particular application as a scoped application or a global scope application. So the choice of scope directly influences several aspects of the development process within ServiceNow. For scoped applications, developers can enjoy a degree of autonomy, focusing on specific needs and functionalities without worrying about unintended impacts on the global environment. This isolation simplifies access control and data security, making it easier to manage the application's lifecycle. On the other hand, developing a global scope application requires a more holistic approach. and developers must consider the broader implications of their work, ensuring compatibility and coherence across the entire ServiceNow platform. This approach demands a thorough understanding of ServiceNow's integrated environment, emphasizing the need for meticulous planning and testing to avoid conflicts and ensure seamless operation. So that means ultimately the decision between a scope or a global application in the ServiceNow in any organization depends on the specific needs and the business objectives or goals of the project. So understanding the implications of this choice is crucial for successful application development, affecting everything from security and functionality to maintainability and integration within that particular company's ServiceNow ecosystem. So, in my opinion, this topic, the development and deployment, is the most important and very crucial for any aspiring ServiceNow application developer need to understand because this is all starts. This is where you as a developer get into the real-time hands-on work in the ServiceNow. Even though you are a seasoned developer, understanding these basics, these fundamentals in the ServiceNow will make you an efficient and productive developer. So let's look at what is involved in the development and deployment. Although as a developer, if you're already a developer, you know what is the development is. You build the code. And what is the deployment? You deploy the code. But how it works in the ServiceNow is what we are supposed to know. So let's look at the process. What is the process in the ServiceNow? So the life cycle of application development in ServiceNow begins with initial analysis. You're not going to just go and build the code. You first look at what is the business ask, what is the requirement, and then we do the analysis. And what is the scope? What are the requirements and what are the objectives of the applications? If they are clearly defined or not. If they are not, then we need to ask, we need to get a clearer definition of what is exactly the business is looking for. And following this, the design phase. This lays out the architectural blueprint and then focusing on how the application will function within ServiceNow, including its interface and user experience. For example, you are trying to bring an existing legacy application that was there in your organization for almost 10, 15 years and trying to put the same functionality in the ServiceNow. First of all, as a developer, as an architect, we need to understand, is that a good idea? Is that application, that functionality that business has been using for almost 15 years, is a good fit for ServiceNow? Because ServiceNow's platform does not fit for all types of applications. Say, for example, if that application is related to the video streaming or something like that, it won't fit because ServiceNow doesn't do that. ServiceNow is a process oriented, workflow oriented, and then forms display oriented, user interface oriented. So the video and the streaming stuff and the audio stuff doesn't work. So that's the most important part of the process is that the design phase lays out the architectural blueprint and focusing on how the application will function within ServiceNow, including its interface and user experience. And comes the development stage. This is like bringing the design to life, coding the application's functionality into reality. And then after what happens? Testing. It's a crucial to ensure this application performs as intended, identifying and rectifying any issues. And then comes finally deployment. You deploy from dev to upper environments, from test to staging and to the production. And this marks the transition of application from a development environment to production, making it available for the company's end users, whether they are internal employees or external customers. Now we have to see what are the essential developer skills. In here, a developer means a ServiceNow application developer. What does a ServiceNow application developer need to know or to have the skills before they even consider themselves to be, you know, starting as an application developer in the ServiceNow platform? So An effective ServiceNow development requires a blend of technical skills and platform-specific knowledge, such as form and list configuration. These are all foundational, and enabling the customization of UI elements to enhance user interaction that requires like a form configurations. And then a deep understanding of user management and access control ensures that the application adheres to security standards, controlling who can access what within that application. Leveraging workflow or a flow designer allows for the automation of processes and tasks, a critical component for efficient application functionality. Moreover, scripting is the critical aspect of the developer's engagement. So we need to have that, mastery in the scripting, whether it is a client script or a server script or whatever it may be. So this will unlock the advanced customization and functionality and allowing developers to implement complex logic and integrations. Now comes a very important aspect of the ServiceNow application development. The word update sets is the word that a developer needs to be, fully understandable and can be executed. So update sets and application repository, these are the two keywords that we need to understand. So to facilitate the migration of changes and manage application versions, ServiceNow provides two powerful tools. One is update sets and the second one is application repository. So these update sets allow developers to package configuration changes and customizations, making it easier to move these changes from one instance to another, such as from testing to production environments. And update sets ensures that all modifications are tracked and can be deployed without missing dependencies. And next one is the application repository. On the other hand, serves as a central hub for managing application versions and installations. It provides a streamlined way to distribute and update applications across different ServiceNow instances. And then these two tools will ensure the consistency and ease of updates across the board. All right, so I think we are almost at the end of the video, quickly looking at the resources list. So these are all the developer resources. Most of the people know where to go and find the information that is needed during a process of development. So ServiceNow community, developer community, and then we have developer website where you get a personal developer instance for practice, and then we got product documentation site, and we have ServiceNow App Store where you can buy apps developed by third parties like partners or other companies. And then we have developer meetups, YouTube channel. I like the YouTube channel. I go and watch a lot of videos there. And then we have the ServiceNow product lab. I don't really know exactly what it is, but that is one resource shared by the instructor. And the tech stack, this is like a very high level. I probably have to dig deep into any other items that I don't know. ServiceNow uses the MariaDB, which is a relational database. Of course, that's what it is. And then we have JavaScript, and they use Java Servlet in the backend called Mozilla Rhino. Mozilla Rhino, I remember I see when I access this ServiceNow instance in the browser, I see .do. That's what the servlet does. It takes a request and sends back the response. And ServiceNow uses the JavaScript ECMA 5. And from a GUI development perspective, we need to know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React library for the synchronous UI development, and then we have Apache Jelly. I don't really know exactly what Apache Jelly does, but it's good to know. We'll see more and more about this, and there will be other things we'll be learning as part of this series. But it's good to know. This is a good start. Before I go on to my final slide, which is a recap slide for this video, I wanted to quickly go through some of the items that is very important for us to understand in the application development series. Where are the update sets and how to find the version of the system, and then how to look at the applications repository, and where is this application picker, and then how to see the warning when you're trying to update an application which is in a different scope. So let's get started. So the first one is the application picker. So this is application picker. So right here you see the application scope is global. If your company is running on different domains, you will see a domain also here. It's called a domain picker, but it's an application picker basically. Right now it is in the global scope. But if you wanted to move to a different scope, for example, I wanted to move to a different scope. These are all scoped applications. And let's say if we wanted to go to change management approval, this is a scope. Because if I wanted to modify something in the change management approval scoped application, then I have to, change the scope of the instance at this point in time. Otherwise, I won't be able to change any of the code in the change management approval application. So that's how it will protect the developer as well as the user of the ServiceNow instance to see, because see work or update or anything, because that's where it's stopping with the permissions assigned to each user. Then how to look at where do you find the version of the instance, right? So let's say it will be in the system diagnostics, right? So system diagnostics, and it's under the stats. So this is where you see what is your instance release, what is the build. The build is Washington DC. This is the latest and greatest as of January 25 2024. That was the release, and this is a patch. So that is how you can find out where is the instance release, what is the latest and greatest on this one. But you can also, you know if it is something that you want to quickly look at, then you can always go to your browser and you can say simply stats.do. That's it. If you do the stats.do, it does the same thing, because the .do, as I said, it's a servlet that is running on the server, sending the statistics. That's what it's going. This is a servlet. The stats is a servlet, is sending the data, whatever the information that is supposed to, right? Now let's try to change an application or something, whatever it may be. It may be a business rule, or it may be a client script that is created in a different scope, and then try to edit to see what happens. So I think we can go to business rules. And in this business rule, let's say the application here, if you see, these are all, these business rules are created for global application. Okay. And then there are around 4,721 business rules that are available out of the box, like a base application. And currently I am in the application scope called change management approval policy. Let's say if I try to update or do some modifications for this, which is in the application, global application. Now you see the warning comes up here. What it does, it is stopping us to do any modifications here, and everything is grayed out here. That means it's only read-only mode. And the warning says this record is in global application, but change management approval policy is a current application. To edit this record, click here. So the best practice as an application developer is to change the scope and do the modification. However, the system is giving you an option to quickly edit this and come back. So if you click on that, the permissions are changing to edit this, because the system has moved the context to a scope that is editable, which is a global application. So it says You are editing a record in the global application. But if you see, you are still in the change management approval policy application. So you want to do something, you want to change something, and you can update it, and then you can go back to the previous scope. That is the context. Now the next most important thing, update sets. So where do you see that? So these update sets, we want to see they, they are in this location called local update sets. So these are under the system update sets, and you go for local update sets. Right now, you see there, these are the out of the box global. These are like basically, these are all default update sets. But if you are a developer, you are doing some work, some development for a story that you're working on. When you start working on the story, before you do anything to any of the code or any other artifacts, you come here, you click on the new, and you create an update set. And then when you start an update set, test scoped app, that is a scoped app, let's say that is a one, and then you start it and you give anything like a description, and then you can submit, or you can submit and make current. Because when you submit and make current, that means in your session, for you, when you log in, you will have this update set currently set for you. That means any change that you do, any change that you do will be added to this test scope app. Let's say, for example, I want to go back to the global. All right. Now in this, I have this test scope app. But if you see, the application that is set for the test scope app is change management approval. So if I go to the global app, so if I am going to change, if I'm going to modify anything in the global application, those those changes are not saved in this test scope app update set. That means I have to create a different update set for the global one. So you have the opportunity, you have the way to distinguish between your work between two different apps. So your work will not be, you know, overlaid, or your work will not be messed up. You change something in one app and you change something in another app, they won't come together, because that's how the system is protecting you to do your work um, for two different apps separately, and you are not mixing them. So that's how it is protecting your work. And finally, let's look at where is this applications repository. So if you go to my company, so here you have my company applications. This is where you have all the applications that are scoped applications developed by your company team, development team here. And this is called the central repository, where you will install after the development is complete. And then this application repository will be available for your company with that whatever the company unique ID that ServiceNow has provided. You may have 3 instances or 4 instances. One is development, one is sandbox, one is testing, one is staging, one is production, one is demo, whatever it may be. Because you have this central applications repository, once your developer completes the development and installs that completed application into that repository, that in that repository, this application is available for all the other instances related to that company ID. That means you can go and install that available application from the central repository to any of those other instances other than the development, because development is already available with that latest version. Or you could do that backwards too. If you clone your development instance from the production, then when you wanted the latest application that was developed yesterday, then you could reinstall from your central applications repository. So that is how you manage your application versions. So that's all about what I wanted to show today. We will be learning more and more. I will be continue to bring more tips and tricks or whatever the learnings I have. So I just want to make it more useful for the folks who are watching. All right, so we have come to the end of this episode. Number two, I'm going to recap the module one, what I have learned. I'm not going to read through all the bullet points, but I want to quickly touch upon what I have covered in this video. Application development overview. Then we have looked into custom applications, why and how we build the custom applications, and what is the difference between the scope application versus global application. And then we understood what is a scoped app and why we need to have a scoped app. And then how do you identify the scoped app, the namespace identifier that we learned about it. Then when you decide when you are going to build a new application, what is the decision criteria to make this as a private scope versus a global scope? And the most important aspect of it, we learned what processes or what tools are available in the ServiceNow platform to do the application development and the deployment. What is the difference between the development and deployment in the ServiceNow context? So we kind of looked into that, and I hope I covered everything that is provided in the module one of this course. Before I end this episode, I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for watching this series. And if this series helps, please like and subscribe to the Boston Ramesh channel. I hope you can join me on my journey in the next episode on day 18. Until then, thank you and have a good day.